Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board o LTFRB ang taxi driver na nag-viral matapos sampalin ng babaeng motorista. Desidido ang driver na patanggalan ng lisensya ang nanakit sa kanya. Pero ang babaeng nakaalitan niya, magsasampa rin daw ng kaso. Umaaksyon si Ryan Ang.
Viral sa social media ang video nito na isang babaeng motorista na galit sa harap ng isang taxi sa Congressional Avenue sa Quezon City. Napagdiskitahan niya ang side mirror ng sasakyan at sa kanya sinapak ang driver sa loob ng taxi. Dito na lumabas ang matanda na hawak ang kanyang kaliwang pisngi, pero dinuro-duro pa siya ng babae. Tumigilan daw siya nang dumating ang pulis. Kwento ng 52 anyos sa taxi driver na si Virgilio Doktor. Mabagal ang andar ng kotse ng babae, kaya sinubukan niya mag-overtake, pero bigla raw bumilis ang patakbo nito at hinarang ang kanyang taxi. Dito na bumaba ang babaeng driver at kinakasama nito.
Bigla namang may lubas na lalaki na pala asawa niya. Pinapababa ako ng taxi. Ako manila ko ng pandi ako, hindi ko pinatulan na baba ko. Alam kong may intensyon na manakit ito, kaya sa yung babae ng bumaba, may dalang golf club yung na may goma sa dulo, napasapas yung taxi ko.
Ibinaba raw ni Mang Virgilio ang bintana para humingi ng tawad, pero sinuntok pa siya sa kaliwang pisngi. Dati na raw siya na stroke at inakala niyang muli siyang aatakihin.
Sorry ko para wala nang gulo. Naabutan pa ako sa mukha ng gano'n. Bumaba ako pedal para ma-relieve yung yung high blood ko. Baka sapugin na naman ako eh. Kaya naupo muna ako sa tabi para makita ng tao sakaling supungin ako. May taong magdalas ako sa pinakamalapit na hospital.
Sa salaysay naman ng babaeng driver, sinabi niyang muntik silang mabangga ng taxi, kaya siya bumaba. Lalo raw siya nagalit ang tawagin siyang palyo ng taxi driver. Nasagi rin daw siya sa tuhod, pero lumabas sa medical exam na wala namang injury ang babae. Plano raw niya magsampa ng kaso laban kay Mang Virgilio.
Kahapon pilit nating inaayos nga naman dahil hindi naman sobrang kalakihan wala naman gaano na injured, no? But then sa pride din minsan ng bawat isa't isa, may mga kakilalang abogado, din nag-viral ito sa social media, magharap-harap na lang sila sa prosecutor's office.
Kanina ipinatawag ng LTFRB si Mang Virgilio at ang kanyang operator. Desidido raw sila ipakansela ang lisensya na nanakit na driver.
Wala namang sagyan ng kotse, wala nangyaring ganon. It's just na ayaw siyang pasingitin. And we question now whether she is fit to be on the road with that kind of mentality. Lalabasan mo ng allegedly golf club at tatamaan mo yung sasakyan niya.
In other news, more help is on the way to Biliran after Tropical Depression Urduha's sweep. CNN Philippines spoke to Red Cross Chairman Senator Richard Gordon.
Our rescue and relief teams are arriving tomorrow morning. They are leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning from Tacloban and negotiate their way to Biliran. They will be bringing water tankers and bladders for about 50,000 liters, and they'll be putting a bladder in the hospital so that there'll be water there, and they will be side by the water tanker, which will be fed by a filtration system that we're also bringing, about 2 of them, so that we could immediately operate. And then we're also bringing generators so that people can charge their batteries, their cell phones, so we can be in constant touch. We're bringing 15 of them. And we're also bringing non-food items such as blankets, mosquito nets. The DSWD has pretty much covered the food, but we're covering the non-food items and also the other items such as tents. We're bringing a tent for the people who are going to be there, as well as temporary tarpaulins for the people who have lost their homes.
The death toll due to Tropical Depression Urduha is at 31.
You have long opposed Dengvaxia, the dengue vaccine, Secretary. Why? And give us a brief timeline on this.
Yes, actually, I opposed it as Assistant Secretary of Health, then working with the Office for Health Regulations, because I told Secretary Garin and the EPI people, that's the expanded program on immunization, that we never introduce a new vaccine during election year. During time of Secretary Bengson, he ran for Senate, he actually instructed us, I was already with EPI at that time, not to start the national immunization days. Because delicadeza, you're running for office and then you start the program. With Secretary Flavier, that was also the same thing that he instructed us, no, don't introduce mass immunization during election year.
Is that the only reason why you opposed it? Because it was an election year?
There were actually 4 reasons that I outlined. Number 1 is that this was really off the shelf, off the drawing board in terms of vaccines, newly discovered, newly licensed, and there were long-term safety issues. So what do you do with that vaccine? In fact, that was the recommendation of the Formulary Executive Council, to do it in phases, to do procurement staggered. But I didn't know that it was 1 million doses for those children. Number 2, social preparation. For a new vaccine, you need 1 to 2 years, because people have to understand that no vaccine is perfect. There are side effects, there are advantages, disadvantages, and they have to take that in consideration. Number 3, it was election year. So even if this vaccine was very good, no side effects, no nothing, it was a perfect vaccine, it will be tainted. The program will be questioned. Why did you introduce it at this particular time? So,
and then the 4th one? Did you miss the 4th one?
Also, the preparation, at that time, the medical and scientific world was divided on this vaccine. So I told myself, we have to really consult them, vet with them, because really, we have to hear all sides.
Okay. If we look at the Department of Health, you have Secretary Garin, who was already saying that, okay, dengue was not a #1 killer. Let's admit that. But it was a cause for concern. It was something that could have been very good for the Aquino administration had it been proven to be okay in the end. Of course, there were problems. It shouldn't have been done en masse, etc. But is there something wrong? Can we try to put it very basic? Is there something wrong with Dengvaxia? Because the parents are very alarmed right now.
Well, right now, when I thought, in fact, I was in UPPGH yesterday on the graduation of residents, and the doctors were telling me we should have an information campaign out that vaccination is not a problem, or it's not putting our children at risk.
It's not a danger.
Even the dengue vaccine, there is use for it. It's the benefits outweigh the risk. But the main issue here is that there were risks, and it was not clearly communicated to the public. So that's the cause for the panic. And that's what I told you about social preparation.
Yeah, you were talking about social preparation could be at least a year, especially when you do it en masse at what, 830,000?
1 million was the target.
1 million was the target, but so far they have a number. Secretary Duque has it pegged at about
833,000.
3,000. So there's nothing wrong with Dengvaxia. I mean, if a parent asks you, Secretary Ubial, meron ho bang problema, magkakaroon ho ba ng problema ang anak ko dahil naturukan siya ng Dengvaxia, what will you say?
Actually, in science, we call it potential risk. It's not actual risk. It can happen. So that's what we're dealing with now. These are children that were vaccinated, and the potential risk of serious dengue infection would be among those who were not exposed to the dengue virus before the vaccination. So they estimate about 10%. And then the scientists projected that in the next 5 years, about 5,000 serious dengue cases. And so What does that mean? That means that we have more serious dengue cases than if we did not vaccinate, because there's about 600
So,
a
paano
year.
yun? Is that saying that because those that were administered the dengue vaccine, they're more at risk now? Is
Hindi,
that true?
if they were not, if
Yeah.
they didn't have dengue before. So that's why it's 9 years old and not younger, because at 9 years old, we presupposes that exposure is already there. 90% of those 9 years
Nagkaroon na.
old have
All right.
exposure.
We'll be